My name's Orrin Tether Colby Jr. I was born in Bingham Canyon, but we grew up in San Pete and Sevier counties. My father and my mother were both born and raised in Sevier County. And the reason that I felt inclined to maybe share just a few thoughts was the first of our family who fell victim to this Downwinders issue was my grandmother, first one that we knew about. My grandmother passed away with stomach cancer. Later on, we found out that my grandfather died of what at that time was diagnosed as muscular dystrophy, but seemed to be an autoimmune issue that was probably related. So I lost both of my grandparents, we believe, to this issue. Then a few years ago, my sister developed breast cancer. And through the processes they went through, she was determined to have been a Downwinders victim, was compensated and that sort of a thing. My father spent much of his life fighting cancers on his face and neck and head. And now in my later years, I also twice a year go in and have treatments for that. I also have two daughters who have MS. And from what we can learn, that's an autoimmune issue which very, very possibly could be passed down through me and my parents and my grandparents onto my two daughters. Out of 8 kids, 2 of them have MS. So it's been a scary experience for us as a family. And while I know as humans we're very prone to want to blame everything on something, nevertheless, there is a connection there that makes we as a family find ourselves concerned and feel like maybe expressing a voice about it could be helpful somewhere along the line. So that's why I came today. My father owned farming property. My grandparents were farmers. And later on, my father became a lineman for Garcane Power and then Utah Power and spent much of his time down in that same area. I don't know if there was lingering issues from the radiation or whether it was the initial issues that affected him. Well, I think the government at the time, of course, had no real clue what could occur to people in the vicinity, and probably thought that they had contained things. Government, however, over the years has always been somewhat prone to not release information widely and publicly, which is obviously an irritant to any thinking human being. I'm not one who is out to say, the government's bad or this kind of a thing, but I think there is some inclination along that line. I also, and this is a tangent from that, and I hope it's okay, but I was thinking, I just read Bill O'Reilly's book, Killing the Rising Sun, which almost glorifies, eulogizes in a very positive way the testing that occurred down there in New Mexico. And seemingly the only negative impacts are what happened to the Japanese where the bombs were dropped. There may be as much damage to Americans from the Downwinders element as there was to the Japanese in a sense. Of course, they may have an even greater problem over time because of the radiation issues, but I fear sometimes in certain elements of our society we glorify these things rather than perhaps being more prone to being specific on impacts that they actually have on human society and human beings.